Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video we are going to be talking Palia, and what we are going to go ahead and do is we are going to take a look at some of the questions and answers that have been asked to the Singularity 6 team. Some of these questions are going as far back as June 10th, 2021. Now, I won't be covering all of these because some of them are time specific, such as when the pre-alpha and all of that launched. The game is beyond that development, so I am going to skip over those questions. The first question we will read is, I have noticed that you are being compelled by some to add PvP and elements of competitive play. There's also a fan narrative asserting that these elements will be present, but not just in the alpha. Can you please explain the vision in a way that provides clarity on this topic? Thanks for the question. It's been a notable point of confusion in the community, and so it's a key point I'd like to address today. Your initial impression is correct, but there is some nuance to that answer I can hopefully clarify a bit now. First off, the core vision and target experience for Palia centers around creating a collaborative, cozy, and safe multiplayer experience. An inherent part of providing that safety is that players know that they exist in a world largely devoid of physical, social, and emotional threats. As such, we feel that player versus player, PvP, combat is antithetical to our core experiential goals. Additionally, this is an area that many great games we love have invested in deeply, and since it's not our core, we're unlikely to produce an experience that measures up to our player expectations were we to divert our focus into this area as well. Having said that, we do believe that there are some competitive play opportunities that can make sense in our world, in large part because they're the kind of lighthearted competitive experiences we expect to find amongst family or close friends. A Sunday afternoon card game can be cozy. Racing on the beach can still feel like a vacation. Additionally, many of our core systems ladder up quite naturally into an option for a little competitive play. I know I've spent a lot of time with my family watching cooking competitions, and maybe you're eager to be recognized for your interior design skills. Regardless, the thing that will remain consistently true is that competition is not our core, and any competitive options we add will not impinge on the core game experience, and we will strive not to tempt you into engagement with their rewards. That was answered by Aiden. The second question is about gathering resources. Will the object disappear after being gathered so that you will actually have to camp the spot to harvest it before other players do it first? Or can you just harvest it and it will have a local cooldown for the player, while other players can still harvest it? S6 answers. A core part of our goal with Palia is to make the multiplayer environment a collaborative one. A major part of this is how we address the various loot systems in the game that would otherwise turn them into a source of tension and competitive play. We have a wide variety of solutions we're continuously testing in this area, and upcoming playtests will help us assess where we're hitting those goals and where we need additional work. Suffice to say, friends and strangers are welcome. Also answered by Aiden. Will we need to eat/drink or sleep? S6 answers. These activities are not strictly required, but they will all have a variety of benefits in the game that make engaging professions like cooking have real worth. From an incentives perspective, these systems are oriented around having strong benefits for engaging with them over penalties for not. Also answered by Aiden. Our next set of questions comes on July 8th, 2021. Will we be able to do any meaningful progression by ourselves, or will quests/progression usually require us to team up with other players? S6 Aiden answers, our goal with Palia is for it to be fun solo and even better together. As such, we think it's critically important to always have meaningful things you can do in the game when playing solo, whether it's because you're waiting for friends to come online, or it's your preferred way to enjoy the game. That being said, There will also be activities that either require or are significantly more manageable when done with others. How is a community-based MMORPG different from the standard MMORPG? What are you doing different? S6 Aiden answers, while we do share some feature overlap with traditional MMORPGs, Palia's genre is community simulation MMO, which means our core loop and primary gameplay systems have a very different focus. One way we like to put it is that all of the side shows in an MMORPG, crafting, gathering, housing, etc., are our main events, where we pour all our energy and resources. Next question. Will the camera be isometric or third person? S6 Aiden answers, Palia uses a third-person camera perspective similar to traditional MMORPGs or action-adventure titles. We felt this helped really immerse the player in the world and gave a new perspective on genre hallmarks like gardening and fishing. Next question. Will we be able to express ourselves through the exterior of our houses? For example, the choice of putting a structural beam in a different place, expanding the house to a side of choice, multitude of room shapes for us to choose from, etc. As 6 Aiden answers, there will be a lot of choice to be had in your home's design, including the exterior. Additionally, wherever the system is at launch is just the beginning, and we expect the player base will help us to decide which new housing customization features we'll prioritize first. Next question. Will lore develop as time goes on? For example, will events happen in-game that affect the lore for future players? S6 Ember's Ashes answers, yes, we want to continue developing the story after release. We want our story to feel alive, and we can achieve that through updates that introduce new story beats for players to dive into. We love the idea of giving the community the opportunity to affect the world and the story through events, but that's something we'd be exploring further down the line. Next question. Tension and release is a very important part of quality storytelling / world building, and I worry that this game will become bland as a result. Are there any arguments you have against this perspective? S6 Ember's Ashes answers, great question. For clarity, our goal is not to stray away from tension or challenging emotions when it comes to world building or storytelling, just to provide a safe and welcoming atmosphere for players to explore those story beats. In fact, in certain storylines, we want to actively engage the player in helping some of our villagers navigate negative emotional experiences, as we believe that emotional intimacy can be a big part of what allows you to feel cozy with someone. Next question. Will the development team be doing any live streams to answer questions or discuss features to the community like other game developers have done in the past? S6 Neilmore answers, yes, I'm a big fan of what other studios have done with streams, shout out to Bungie, and we want to have more of them in the future. There's a lot of value they bring not just for the community, but for the team as well. We see streaming as an opportunity to foster and maintain a close connection with the community, and that's one of our highest priorities as a team. That being said, there are a few tech issues I need to work through before we do another stream. Contrary to popular belief, I do have a voice, and it would be nice not to spend a whole stream writing backwards on a whiteboard. Next question. I know now you are focusing on English, but in the future, will we have a localized version for other languages, like Portuguese? S6 Neilmore answers, yes, our goal is to have the game available in many languages. I do want to point out that the localization is going to be a gradual process as we continue to expand Palia to new territories. The reason localization hasn't started yet is that it's actually one of the last steps in game development, and we're still some time away from reaching this stage. We do appreciate the folks that have volunteered to translate the game, but it's very likely we'll be partnering with a vendor to translate it. Next question. Do you guys as developers plan to play the game when it's released? There's a variety of dev answers on this one. Ember's Ashes says, absolutely, I'm already addicted to playing the game solo, and I can't wait to share the world we've created with our players. Aiden says, this is a game I've wanted to play for a very long time, so I'm very excited about being a member of the community myself. Additionally, playing the game in an authentic fashion is a critical part of understanding what we're currently delivering, so we can empathize with the highs and lows players are experiencing. Neelamore says, yes! I tend to log the most hours in the internal playtest we have done since I joined S6. As community director, I think playing the game is a great way of staying connected with the community and crucial when it comes to better advocating for things our players need. Nifcool says, yes! You can find me hunting and gardening. I'm not good at taking care of plants in real life, but my Palia crops are beautiful! Next question. What is an unforeseen challenge you as a team have faced, and how did you all overcome it? What have you learned from this experience? S6 Nailmore says, I had to rewrite this a lot because it turned into an accidental blog. Palia has been in development for 3 years at this point, and there's been no shortage of challenges along the way. But I don't think anything quite prepared us for making a game through a pandemic. When work from home began, the studio had a little over 20 employees, and since we've been remote, we've doubled in size. Being one of the folks that started remotely, I remember feeling like building bonds with my coworkers was going to be an issue. Turns out, I was worrying for nothing. Our human resources has actually done a good job at adapting the onboarding for an online experience, and ensuring we get to meet as many folks across the studio as possible. It also helps that everyone is always willing to jump into a call to say hello. Leadership is also very open about reminding us to take time off and understanding that these are weird times, so life can happen at any moment. When I started, I actually tried canceling my vacation, but our CEO made it clear taking time off is what was important. We have also used games to help foster and build connections across the studio. Nothing brings you closer together than pocketing your art director as a mercy while hollering for someone to take care of Bastion. I have learned that over-communicating is often best, and to make sure I'm clear with the things I need. I was also reminded of just how powerful games are when it comes to building friendships. Next question. Do you understand how freaking excited I am? The S6 team answers. Ember Ashes says, I have an idea because I too am freaking excited to share what we've been working on. Laurice says, I, for one, cannot wait to be able to play Palia with friends, and pretty soon we have a lot of internal playtests, but I just want to play it with you folks. Neilmore says, I'm so excited I can't even. This set of questions is from August 12th, 2021. Next question. I know that we can romance NPCs, but since Palia is multiplayer, will we be able to designate other players as friend, best friend, or partner? S6 Einar Best Hug says, you will certainly be able to designate friends, but we aren't currently expecting to have additional options available at launch. We do expect to be considering extensions to the friendship system in the future, in which close relationships are expressed in a meaningful way, possibly even having an impact on gameplay. How diverse will clothing/customizing your character be? Like, can I go from retired socialite with a husband who died of mysterious circumstances and now owns a winery clothing to farmer hobo with one available overall in the wardrobe? As 6th Einer Best Hug says, you can absolutely shift your outfit, and our goal is to be able to have a wide variety of options. Fashion is a big part of our game's culture, but at launch, realistically, these will be pretty limited compared to our ambitions. Our plan is to constantly up our fashion game and give you everything from runway looks to hobo chic. That being said, we do plan to allow you to change clothes from the available options fairly easily through any wardrobe furniture item, including allowing you to save outfit configurations for quick swaps. Palia prides itself on being a cozy and open world of the community sim genre, but no server selection means there will probably be phasing. That means developing a sense of community will be extremely tough and most likely non-existent, which worries me because that's what I, and many other players I have spoken to, are excited for. It's crucial for the game to survive in the early months of launch, especially if a driven player community is present, and I feel like player retention and engagement would be much higher if everyone knew each other as well. How do you plan to maintain a sense of community and togetherness within the vast amount of servers? F68 answers. To make sure we're on the same page, I'm assuming phasing refers to a system in which some aspects of a player's state in the game determines which set of a number of potential versions of the game of the same map you actually appear on when entering the area. This is commonly done to allow for changes in the world to occur, but as you highlight, comes at the cost of potentially segmenting the player base across socially undesirable lines. Your concerns with phasing as it exists in other games are some of the reasons we've chosen not to employ that approach for Palia. Excluding some international restrictions, you will be able to play with any player anytime you like. Our server structure is fairly unique in the MMO space, and we believe it will be one of the features that helps us foster a sense of community and togetherness. It is also important to highlight that groups above a certain scale also tend to struggle to create a lasting community and social connection. That's why systems like guilds exist, to take a pool of thousands or millions of players and cut that down to a manageable number of players with shared goals and expectations. We're betting on our server structure to help us meet this challenge too. Next question. I like to invest time into how my player looks in a game. Is this going to be a thing that has systems dedicated to it, like the WoW Transmog system or the Final Fantasy Glamour system? Or will gear be more of an aesthetic thing in general? We have two answers on this one. S6 Einer Hug Best Hug says, in general, visible gear in our game is purely cosmetic. There may be gameplay items that are visible, but they are not intended to interfere with any look you are trying to achieve. This gives players more choices to express their identity, rather than picking gear for the best possible stats. S6 Amelia Mars says, I'm with you. I invest way too much time into the details of my aesthetic. There may be spreadsheets. It's a relief to know our choices won't be constructed around the boost or stat a particular article gives us. Next question. I have a serious question, actually. As I understand it, pre-alpha is where S6 wants players to tell them what they like and don't like, so they can fix it. Is this in pre-alpha only, or will it also be in alpha, beta, other tests, or will those be more about bug fixing? I would really dislike it if most gameplay and UI decisions will only be based upon what the devs and about 1,400 people think. My concern is that once something has been coded, based upon early feedback, and is in the game, it can be hard to alter or remove, especially if other mechanics depend on a core feature. S6 Wizard Crab says, there are many purposes to our pre-alpha testing, including game feedback, but also things like testing our tech, finding bugs, and learning how our studio fares operating a live MMO. So we'll absolutely take feedback from our pre-alpha players and internal playtests to adjust the game and make it better. But honestly, I wouldn't think of anything as set in stone. We plan to constantly update the game for as long as people play it, so it'll never be done, and we'll never be done gathering feedback on how to make it better. Some of that feedback will tell us we need to make changes, and sometimes that'll be because we made the wrong choices. And sometimes it'll be because you, the players' tastes have evolved. I see the concern since just a small portion of folks who are invested in Palia have gotten to weigh in to that directly, but I guarantee all our players, now and future, will get a say in shaping the game. Next question. I didn't notice this question yet, so what's the expected player activity, such as how often should a player log in? I'm asking because most current MMOs feel more like chores. Log in daily to do X/Y. In mobile gaming, it's like daily tasks. And in the end, you waste a few hours, quote-unquote, having fun. S6 Aiden answers, we've tried to do a lot of the design in Palia to undermine the sense of falling behind when you don't play consistently. If we're successful, Palia should feel like a game that's always there for you when you need it, but doesn't require radical or regimented devotion to play correctly or to enjoy. We want Palia to be a game that lets you play the way you want to play when you want to play. Next question. What gameplay benefits, if any, will romance give us? Will we be able to opt fully out of using the romancing feature without it being a detriment to our gameplay? S6 Ember's Ashes answers, there will be a variety of exciting narrative-driven rewards. While you won't have to romance everyone to get the best house, there will be benefits to deepening your knowledge of our world. We want players to be able to engage in the romance feature for intrinsic reasons, like genuine interest in getting to know the characters. The romances are not meant for extrinsic rewards. Therefore, there is no gameplay advantage for romance and no disadvantage for opting out. Next question. I noticed for Kenyatta's introduction card, it says she hasn't chosen her path. Is this just a general term you're using saying she hasn't figured out her future career? Or is this some kind of player system? Like being able to choose a path as a cook, which would give you access to certain cooking skills, recipes, etc., that players who didn't choose that path would not have access to. S6 Ember's Ashes answers, this is a great question. This is a narrative concept linked to a certain culture in our game of choosing a lifelong career in young adulthood. We have not yet determined if/how the human characters, i.e. the players, will engage with this narrative concept. The main thing is we want players to be able to play the way they want to and engage with systems as they see fit. So we are unlikely to unlock important gameplay content behind a narrative path choice. Next question. Will there be seasons and weather patterns such as snow, heavy rains and storms, routes, etc. to go with them? S6 Aiden answers, this question was asked by a lot of people. We're not ready to talk about seasons at this time, but we will definitely have a dynamic weather system that will impact a wide variety of the gameplay content in the game. We're also making sure our audio experience is capturing the charm of being sheltered inside while listening to the patter of raindrops across your roof. I'm not going to read this one out loud, but I will leave it on the screen for you guys to see. Now we are into September 30th, 2021. First question, can you share some gameplay, please? Even 10 seconds is good, preferably showing other players too. S6 Amelia Mars says, welcome to our fair city. While we can't show you the whole enchilada right now, we'd be happy to give you a little sneak peek into what Palia feels like at a glance. Below is a few seconds of in-game capture from one of our playtest builds. A couple things to keep in mind. This is all work in progress and not representative of the final game at release. Some elements you see here may change. The facial animations have not yet been implemented in our designs, but look forward to a sneak peek at those in the near future. The heads-up display, controls, map, quest info has been removed, as that is definitely still not final, but we think you'll enjoy the peaceful atmosphere seen in this video. If we're able to share more next time, we'll try to get some other players into the mix. Next question. How much creativity will we be able to pour into our housing and decoration? I hope a lot, since that's why I greatly enjoy most games when I've done my exploration and gathering for the day. S68 answers. This is an area close to our hearts and critical to the identity of Palia. Our goal is to always be expanding the creative possibilities available for players to customize their housing plots. So expect a robust system at launch that continues to regularly expand with new game content and systems over time. For example, we started the pre-alpha without the ability to customize wallpaper, but added it halfway through. Now it's a new system we'll be producing new content for regularly. Next question. Do you have an in-game mailbox? Can you send other players mail and items? S6 Einer Hug Best Hug says, right now we have an adorable in-game mailbox, see concept pic, where you get mail from villagers. In the future, we plan to leverage the mail system to allow players to send each other letters and gifts, but we are taking our time to make sure that those interactions feel meaningful. The mailbox will still be adorable then. Next question. How replayable will Palia be? Take, for example, these two games. Case Study 1, World of Warcraft. It takes me about 3 weeks at most to finish an entire new expansion. After that, it is basically just doing the same old dailies over and over again. Repeating the same content is not fun, and I quit playing soon thereafter. Case Study 2, Slay the Spire. Each time I play the game, it feels like a new adventure. The replay value is so much more interesting and satisfying that I can go months and still feel like playing again. How is Palia approaching the replayability design? What are you doing to make the game truly replayable so that players look forward to coming back each day? S68 answers. This is a great question and has been a key component we've been considering since the inception of Palia. The intention has always been to design Palia to be a game that can last for decades. That means regular content updates and a variety of systems built with replayability in mind. Additionally, we expect that a huge aspect of the game that will keep it fresh and exciting are the other players you're engaging with and building a community around. We've already seen exceptional creativity from the pre-alpha players, and expect the potential for other players to improve and expand your experience with Palia to continue to grow as we approach launch and beyond. Finally, we know that not every feature in Palia will resonate to the same degree with every Palia player, and that's not only okay, but intentional for many major systems. However, if you're a person that enjoys community simulation games and doing activities with friends, then we're doing everything we can to build a game for you. Next question. Can you share some of the statistics data you have surely gathered among the lucky few who get to test this game already? I'd be interested in average session length, was it affected over time, and in which direction? Same communication toward the team, where the players contacted you guys. Roughly after how much playtime/IRL time do people start to come back less often, which I'm almost certain happened. It's the fate of any game, I'd say. Roughly how is the time spent by the average player in categories, i.e. chatting with players, interacting with NPCs, fighting, crafting, gathering? I think this data might give us non-players an idea of where the game is at the moment. Obviously, it might also be closely guarded data, so I'm not honestly expecting you to reveal it just like that. Thought I'd ask though. S6 Amelia Mar says, We do have some fun statistics that can be shared. Check out this nifty infographic we created below. While it doesn't include information about session lengths and how they were affected over time, we can tell you that many players stuck around and found a lot of value in the social and customization features of the game. They also started to develop their own in-game community events, so testers created their own organic reasons to keep coming back. It was really remarkable to see. In terms of communication methods, we used private Discord channels. These included specific categories of feedback, as well as some voice channels where we conducted developer deep dives on different elements of the game. We learned a lot from conducting the pre-alpha playtest and are eager to apply those learnings to our next phase of testing. Because of the size of the image, I am not going to share it. You can go to the Palia Discord, go to the Team Answers channel, and look for it if you would like to see it. Are there any plans for supporting a collectathon style of play? Maybe something like the museum in Animal Crossing where you can show off all the different types of fish and other stuff you've collected, or a way to check someone's profile and see all the different things they've caught. S6 Einerhug Best Hug answers, to start with, you will have the ability to see what kind of resources you've personally seen and collected, like fish, crops, etc. We definitely expect it will be a challenge to collect them all. In the future, we'll be exploring a variety of collection activities you can pursue as a group with your neighborhood. We absolutely want players to have the ability to appreciate your hard-earned collections and accomplishments, so expect a variety of ways to share if you're interested in doing so. Next question. Instead of a romance option for NPCs, could we get a friend path? You know, for those of us who aren't into the whole polyamory thing, or who want a deeper relationship with a character but don't want to have to marry them in order to achieve it. I'm thinking like Persona 4. The romance options there could also end in a friendship option instead, but you still got a very similar story arc. S6 Embers Ashes answers, absolutely. In fact, the main story arc for each NPC is unlocked through the friendship system. The romance is intended to be a separate arc that players can engage with completely optionally. Completing the romance portion of the story adds flavor and specificity to your relationship with the NPC, but it will not affect your ability to complete their story arc. While we do want the romance to feel meaningful and satisfying, we don't believe that close relationships need to be romantic in order to be meaningful. And neither do the citizens of Palia. Next question. How huge and open is the world going to be? Is exploration going to be a big part of gameplay? S6 Aiden answers, Palia will definitely feature exploration and discovery as an exciting part of your experience with the game. However, we know it's impossible for us to create enough content that exploration can be a permanent part of the experience, but it is something we can continuously reinvigorate as we expand the world of Palia over time. In terms of the size of a world at launch, it's also important to keep in mind that our core reference genre is community simulation. Games in this genre do a lot with comparatively smaller landmass than what is typical of open-world games. In general, our focus is on depth, variance, and replayability in our maps over massive breadth. Next questions. Question 1. Can players share a single house, for example as roommates? And in the same vein, can players get married and move in together? Question 2. Will there be the ability to share a house with my husband? I game with my husband on a regular basis, and whenever there's a house involved, we usually share the space. I would love to be able to live on my virtual farm in the house with my real husband. Smile. S6 Aiden answers both of these. This is a style of play we really enjoy as gamers ourselves, and know the community is hungry for in Palia. As such, we're excited to talk about our plans in this area, but want to let things develop a bit further into the process before tipping our hat around how we'll be attempting to meet your expectations for this style of play. Next set of questions. Question 1. How accessible will the game be for players who are sensitive to flash or have hearing problems, as well as for people who have reading difficulties? Will you use a dyslexic-friendly font? Second question. Can the game be played on adaptive controllers? As some people with disabilities have difficulty playing games. S6 Einer Hug Best Hug answers, we want everyone who comes to Palia to be able to play. This involves a lot of work though, and we definitely won't be able to get it all at launch. While there are some known issues that we are committed to getting into our launch scope, there are still areas we need to educate ourselves on, and getting feedback from players on what hinders them enjoying Palia is always a great start. We expect to continually add features to support accessibility, and we expect to continually get feedback from our players on how we are doing and how we can improve that space. Amelia Mars adds, please be sure to share what's important to your gameplay needs in the Game Suggestions channel. Einer Hug Best Hug continues, we will be testing the game for visual sensitivity as well as making sure we have individual volume controls to help with audio clarity. There are other features we have planned in regards to both visual and audio difficulties, like colorblind mode, but depending on the scope may or may not make it in time for launch. For controls, we do plan on allowing for free key binding, which should allow for integrating with other devices, but full controller support may come at a later time. Too long didn't read. Accessibility is always part of the conversation, but we will be rolling out in bits and pieces as we go. Next question. Is there a name for the culture of the elf-like residents of Palia? I know that Einar is a golem, Zeki is a grimalkin, so I am wondering, do the elf-like people call themselves something unique? S6 Embers Ashes answers, the elf-like people are called the Majiri. The name has a special significance in the Palian culture, but you'll have to play to find out what it is. A few common traits you'll find among the Majiri are the values of tradition, hospitality, and community. They tend to be warm and welcoming, even toward those with customs very different from their own. Next question. Server allocation. I'm assuming that your machine learning system is what allocates us to friends and neighbors so we can play together, but how will we play together when we first log in? Will there be a way for us to set up a friend network before entering the game to help get it started? Or have you got another way of dealing with that situation and can tell us that we don't have to worry about not having our friends with us? S6 Einer Hug Best Hug says, you don't have to worry at all about not having your friends with you. We are still exploring ways of networking before entering the game with your character. At the moment, the easiest way is to either become friends, you can search for them even if you're not in the same area, or join a party together, after which you will have manual controls to ensure playing together. We want friends to always have the opportunity to play together and not make it a total headache to do so. This means from start to finish, it should be easy for you to find and get together with your friends, whether they are friends you logged in with or friends you decide to play with later. Next question. What is your vision and approach toward transportation around Palia? We saw in the 14-second clip of the character using a glider after jumping off an elevated platform. Is this a way of negating fall damage? Do you plan for easy, accessible transportation methods, such as portals, so visiting different cities and villages is fast and convenient? Or do you envision a slow-paced, exploration-based adventure where traveling by foot to new destinations is more mysterious and enjoyable? Or perhaps a mix of both? S6 Aiden says, fundamentally, we view this as a balance between immersion and convenience, and believe that the importance of these two elements shift as you spend more and more time in the space. We've been focused on building a world worthy of exploration, so as you're discovering each part of the world for the first time, finding all the details can be rewarding and important. As you play longer, you'll start to engage with new systems that soften the navigation burden over time. At a high level, being present in the world is something we think is important in Palia, so we're trying to strike a balance that keeps Palia feeling like a tangible, interconnected place without allowing the need for immediate gratification to ever get too sharp. There should be joy in the journey, not just the destination. Next question. Many activities in MMOs involve minigames. What can we expect from Palia in this vein? Is there a unifying design philosophy behind minigames? Will there be a single team or a single creative director in charge of the minigame development so all the minigames feel like they're part of the same player experience? S6 Aiden answers, there is definitely a broad set of minigames available in Palia, and at first glance there may seem like there is a large departure between each instance you encounter. But there are some unifying principles. 1. Fulfill the player fantasy. What fantasy are players attempting to live out by engaging with this minigame? Minigames should find their inspiration from the real-life execution of that player fantasy. If I'm fishing, it should feel like fishing. 2. Game over simulation. While we find inspiration from real life, and some elements of simulating the real thing are crucial to us achieving our first goal, we prioritize the player experience over a meticulous recreation of reality. 3. Keep it in the world. Whenever possible, we avoid bringing up full-screen UI elements that take you out of the world of Palia, both because we've designed this world to be a charming place to spend time in, and because we filled it with other players, dynamic living world systems, and a bevy of ways to interact. 4. Fun solo, better together. We are supporting players playing the game solo, whether because you're waiting for friends to come online, or it's your preferred way to play. However, the presence or involvement of other players should be a boon to whatever experience you're engaging in. And 5. Accessible depth, opt-in challenge. With appropriate time and effort, all players should be able to find success when engaging with the skills of their choosing. However, for players seeking to demonstrate skill and mastery, we create optional advanced goals to achieve. Alright, this next set of questions is from December 9th, 2021. Next question. Can you tell us more about the world outside of the town? How different are the areas from one another, such as forests, swamps, or desert areas to explore? And will there be any kind of challenges, such as difficult enemies or puzzles, for players to overcome in these zones? Also, are there more villages to discover and possibly build a house there as well? S6 Aiden answers, Palia is a big world with extremely diverse locales we're excited to take players to over time. At launch, only a small portion of that world will be accessible, but we plan to continuously expand the playable space over time. We call the major overworld areas outside of the village adventure zones, and their settings will be as varied as you suggest, with distinct flora, fauna, and gameplay possibilities. Where the village is meant to capture the charm and comfort of home, adventure zones are meant to capture the joy of exploration and discovery. Each adventure zone will feature a bevy of new content and features unique to the zone for you to uncover and experience. Next question. I am really looking forward to the crafting aspect, but have seen some games time gate crafting behind limits. Is there going to be some time gating on some of the crafting, whether it is a limit per day or some recipes take several hours to complete? Also, Final Fantasy XIV has a unique crafting system that requires you to pay attention and use crafting abilities at the right time, and each craft can be different. What level of active work will the crafting have, or will it just be hit the craft button and you get the item if you have the resources? S6 Bourbon, senior game designer, answers, we aren't committed to a single approach for crafting in Palia. For example, we've developed an involved minigame with our cooking skill, where each of the steps involved can affect the outcome. We felt this approach most aligned with the fantasy and skill element of cooking in real life. Simultaneously, some other crafting options are as simple as putting resources into a crafter and letting them do their thing. In this case, we do have an element of time gating, but it's important to note that we mostly time gate crafting materials and not final, usable products, such as decor and tools. This makes it important to think strategically about how you're going to allocate those resources to meet your evolving needs. Next question. With climate change and wildlife protection being such big topics in the real world, will the game feature such elements as well? I am thinking of things like replanting trees, making sure our impact on an area isn't harmful to the flora and fauna living there, or animal rescue and rehabilitation. Follow-up question. While Palia is a fantasy game, are you considering the educational potential it has, particularly for its non-fantasy elements? S6 Aiden and Bourbon joined to answer this one. Our first priority is, of course, making sure the game is delivering a great experience to players. However, there are a variety of themes we take into consideration when trying to find the right direction for a feature. One of the themes we think has a lot of synergy with the values of Palia is indeed conservation. This particular theme can be difficult to balance with a game, so focused on acquiring resources to make progress in the game, but we've found a couple of methods already we think help speak to that direction and are always keeping an open mind on opportunities to support it in the future. A couple of elements that come to mind. Players are able to plant new trees, as well as grow a variety of crops. Players can progress skills like cooking without leaning on wildlife if they so choose. We are interested in hearing how players feel about these themes and elements, so please share your feedback when you play the game. Next question. I'm hoping to create a community both within the game and outside. However, many MMOs often require large groups to be competitive. My personal preference in MMOs is to find a small, tight-knit community and enjoy the game like this. However, I am afraid of potentially losing out on content because my community is not big enough. What is being done to prevent similar communities from being excluded from content? Or are there avenues that smaller communities can take so they can still enjoy the game to the fullest? S6 Einer Hug Best Hug answers, we are focused on supporting neighborhoods large and small. There are definitely challenges with supporting different size groups through any social progression, so the game is intended to have goals tuned in such a way that the group size is taken into consideration. This will likely not result in perfect scaling, but it will make it possible for any player style to be successful and have fun. Next question. How exactly would it work if more than one player wants to romance one of the NPCs? Like, how would that look like? Would it interfere with anything? S6 Ember Ashes answers, yes, you can romance as many of the eligible NPCs as you want. We are still determining exactly how other NPCs acknowledge these relationships. Our goal is to balance realism with the fantasy of getting to explore multiple relationships in a low-pressure setting. So in most cases, dating around probably won't be talked about that much, but the player will have a way to signal who they are dating to other NPCs, and those NPCs may have positive or negative responses to the player being involved in particular romances. But we aren't currently pursuing storylines involving jealousy or cheating. We really value giving players the chance to play the way they want to play, and exploring relationships is a big part of that. Next question. Do you have any plans to support role players or a role-playing community, as the game seems uniquely tailored toward it? S6 Amelia Mars answers, we absolutely believe Palia to be an immersive experience that fans of role-playing would enjoy. We're definitely looking to play a role in helping like-minded players find each other and group up by joining the server or neighborhood that speaks to their playstyle and interests. We also want to offer ways to find folks spur of the moment and party with a passerby even if you aren't part of the same neighborhood. Also, S6 Knife Call and Einer Hug Best Hug gave a joint answer. We want to be able to allow players to create or join themed neighborhoods, as well as allow for group chats that are not tied to a static social structure. For example, a voice chat feature we're developing will help people socialize in different ways, not just in your neighborhood, but also in curated groups while you play more casually. As for immersion, we're excited about the different toys, emotes, character control, and the ability to freely choose your costume. Because clothing items will not have gameplay benefits, you do not have to worry about choosing your outfit around special abilities or bonuses. You can customize your look according to your specific tastes or the needs of the moment. Next question is a set of questions. Question 1. I love secrets. lost messages from bottles, books that contain myths that make you question if they may be real, riddles of what could lead to a completely different quest from the typical go, bring, take, kill, a treasure to look for, a tale from the bard, a secret switch to a dark passage. Will there be secrets in Palia? Not necessarily into the main storyline, but like completely optional and hidden stuff for the most curious ones. How unexpected will they be? I love the idea of things that make the game somehow unpredictable, at least in terms of how far something can go. Like how many fish species are, animals to hunt, seasonal random spawning, skills needed to see/find more strange stuff, etc. And question 2. Hello! Will there be hidden quests to get rare items, or trips with riddles to loot, like a treasure hunt? S6 Embers Ashes answers both of these. Yes, there will be secret lore items for the player to discover and many mysteries to be unraveled. Some of these will be smaller atmospheric details, but others will take shape of items you find that unlock secret quests or books you can find to piece together bits of backstory. We want the world to be full of fun secrets to explore and contemplate for years to come. Next question. Will there be in-game mounts and pets? S6 Aiden answers, so many people ask this. We are a huge fan of Pets of Singularity 6, and know this is something players are very excited about as well. Additionally, we think pets are a great fit for Palia and would be surprised if we didn't support multiple distinct pet features in the game over time. While we're not ready to confirm any pet features today, they are definitely on a roadmap and we're looking forward to getting to the point where we can share more. Alright, and now we are into January 26th, 2022. Next question. Are there plans for a barber stylist? I'd love to be able to change my hairstyle and color in the game. S6 Einerhug Best Hug answers, when you create your character in the beginning, we'll have lots of hairstyles and colors for you to choose from. We currently do not have a barber or stylist in the game, but as we flesh out our roster of villagers, we do want to include one for players to go to for hair customization, as we feel hairstyles are a key part of player identity and expression. We're also very open to hearing what hairstyles you want to wear, so please let us know in game suggestions. Next question. Will there be multiple aesthetics possible to decorate a home in? Like rustic western with stump chairs and rough wood, Gothic Victorian with black candles and lace, hodgepodge colorful with multicolored patched furniture. S6 Eris answers, hey there! One of the big themes of the game is making your home uniquely yours, so we're working to build as many different types of furniture as possible. We don't plan on stopping anytime soon, so if there's not an aesthetic that works for you now, just wait. We'll be continuing to make more and more styles for you to make your house feel like your home. Below are 2 concept examples of early game styles we are designing. These are just sneak peeks of the simpler ones to give you a sense of how your style can progress. But we would really like to hear what styles you'd like to decorate with in the Palia chat. Next question. What sort of timescales are being considered for the day-to-night cycle? Will it be 24/1 like a traditional farming game where every endgame day takes about an hour of playtime? Will it be 1-to-1 so that players mostly experience the same segment of a day if they consistently log in during the same time periods? Something in between? Relatedly, how much of a typical play session are you hoping to have taken up by daily chores, like watering crops and maintaining relationships with NPCs, versus free time to pursue other goals, like gathering crafting materials or exploration? S6 Aiden answers, our desire is for Palia to be a game that is flexible and allows you to engage in a way that makes sense on your schedule. As such, our day-night phases are set up in such a way that you'll be able to experience each phase regardless of when you typically play. There is something just inherently pleasing about having a manageable routine to tend to at the start of each day, and that is certainly present in Palia. However, we know that it's very easy for this to get to a point in which it dominates your experience with the game, preventing you from pursuing the goals you're most excited about. Keeping the amount of work in check, even as the complexity of your housing plot scales up over time, is something we're keeping a close eye on as we continue to develop and iterate on the game. Next question. Will we be able to add friends' accounts to a list and whisper them in-game, get login and logout notifications? If so, will we be able to turn ourselves invisible? And while we are invisible, will our characters not display our usernames? I like my friends, but sometimes I just want to craft, fish, or build in peace, and I don't want them to know that I'm online. It would also be important for our messages to appear incognito during RP sessions. As Sixth Einer Hug Best Hug answers, you will absolutely be able to add friends in our game and send them direct messages. Friendship is very special, and not only includes getting notifications about them coming into and leaving Palia, it will also include the ability to see where they are in the world and ask them to join you. That being said, everyone needs a little bit of space sometime. We are looking into how best to allow players their privacy in a world where you're always surrounded by others. Next question. Are you guys planning NFTs or anything? Because I don't want anything to do with this if you are. S6 Wizard Crab answers, we do not have plans for NFTs. Philosophically, we're approaching it the same way as any technology. Does it provide new opportunities for us to make a better game for our players? And are the costs worth it? Today, we're confident that NFTs are not right for Palia. Next question. Kind of a tangent, Palia, but how are the devs doing? How is the drive and how is the momentum of the project going? The world's been rough this last year, and I want to make sure that the people behind Palia are still just as excited for the project as the community that backs them. I haven't seen anything that would show otherwise, but I worry like a cat whose owner is 5 minutes late on dinner. Jumping off of that, is there anything that the team particularly loved that they saw from the community that either gave them inspiration or passion for the game? S6 Fancy Pants McGee says, thank you for this question. A lot of the time, it's easy to forget that there are people behind the scenes doing the work that we benefit from, especially on these days. So I really appreciate you asking. As you mentioned, the last 2 years have been pretty rough for most people, Sixers included. That said, we're all extremely grateful for the team around us and motivated to build something that our players will love. We have grown by leaps and bounds since we first announced our game, and while that's unlocked a lot of new skills and capabilities, it's also made things a lot more complicated to scale. These new problems and challenges are actually really exciting because they show us some of the awesome solutions that we can design. The passion we've seen from the community is inspirational beyond words. There is a Slack channel in our studio called Palia Community Creations, where folks just post links and pictures of the incredible work that folks in our community have done. It's incredibly humbling and motivates us to make the game that you're all hoping for. My personal favorite of late was this image, which really captures the heart of game development. Thank you so much for the question, and take care. This next set of questions is from March 3rd, 2022. Next question. Will there be wildlife visiting our homesteads? Birds nesting in trees, gopher choppa holes, deer wandering in, etc. S6 Aiden answers, that's a great idea and certainly fits with the spirit of the game we're trying to build. We'll definitely keep this in mind as we move forward. Next question. Hello, I know Palia is a massive game with no PvP, but will there be weapons we can make or use to go hunting or fight monsters or animals? This leads me to my follow-up question tied to combat. Will there be combat in the form of PvE where players go on quests and encounter foes or bosses that yield a reward? S6 Bourbon answers, we want to provide an experience for our community sim audience first, and there are exciting possibilities to go beyond that. It's helpful to remember that while Palia is a community sim MMO, it is not an MMORPG. MMORPGs are typically about slaying foes and getting stronger, but Palians spend the majority of their time engaging in gathering and crafting activities, developmental relationships with NPCs, and building up the plot of land. We have absolutely heard the feedback from players that they want some form of combat gameplay in Palia, and have a few plans in the works. Currently, our hunting skill is the closest to this in feel. More details soon. Players can hunt Palian wildlife with a bow and arrow for their hides, meat, and other valuable materials to craft and cook. Our first goal is to provide a stellar experience to the community sim audience, and then anything is possible for expanding the game in the years, and hopefully decades, that we will be adding to the game. Next question. Hello! On the audio side of things, will there be voiceover by actors, recorded small sound bites, or using a sound library? Thank you! S6 Notart answers, voiceover won't be one-to-one with text for scope and flexibility reasons. However, our plan is to support intro and outro lines for the characters, which can change depending on your relationship with the character. The two ways they will change, if you're friendly, or if you're romantically involved. So, if you level up to a spot where you are in a romance, the voice line intro and outro line will change. Other than that, we're going to record Zelda-like efforts to sync to their animations. This is more just flavor for the character, so that when you see a character gasp, there's an associated sound to go with it. Next question. Will there be collective goals for neighborhoods to strive towards? I used to play a game where you could expand your guild village by contributing resources into a massive pile, and I really want to see something I can work towards with my friends as a collective effort. S6 Einer Hug Best Hug answers, yes. For launch we're going to have a few goals for the neighborhood to collaborate on, but expect the breadth and depth to really expand as we continue to develop the game over time. Post-launch, we have lots of ideas that we want to explore, but we're going to have to choose one to be the first major effort to bring players, so we want to make sure it's an impactful one. Next question. Do NPCs have birthdays? It would be great to celebrate them together. S6 Ember Ashes answers, NPCs do have birthdays, as well as unique Palian astrological signs. We are exploring different ways of having those birthdays surface and celebrated by the community, and hope to share more details with you soon. Next question. Are there any plans regarding the implementation of real money microtransactions? If there are planned in-game cash shops, would it be cosmetic only, or would it affect in-game progress? S6 Amelia Mars answers, we've been asked about our monetization plans a lot since we announced Palia back in June of 2021. We answered all of these questions and more in a blog just a few weeks ago. You can check it out here. We will also be posting a transcript of the Q&A we had with our head of business and insights that answers many frequently asked questions that came after the blog went live. Stay tuned for that in the next few weeks. It will be posted in the same channel as a special edition of Ask the Team. This is not covered in today's video. Next question. Will there be consequences for our actions, like choices and events that we can't undo and permanently change our gameplay? S6 Ember's Ashes answers, NPCs will remember your past choices and respond accordingly. How far we will go in making these types of choices affect the main storyline is to be decided. We do want to do choice-based content for our main storyline, but these may be group decisions as opposed to individual choices. Currently, individual choices mostly impact how NPCs view you, and those create some small branches and additional options in friendship and romance content. Next question. Hi, could you please disclose what will be the limit of friends you can play with simultaneously? I'm trying to determine how many friends I can get into Palia so we can enjoy it together. Thank you for your great efforts. S6 Einer Hug Best Hug answers, there are multiple social grouping systems in Palia that are sized to suit their activities. For example, our party size is 4 because the activities we are planning for them have limited slots. However, your neighborhood and each server can hold many more players simultaneously. We're still trying to lock down the number and expect it to increase from early alpha playtest numbers. Next question. What sort of globalized currency will the game be using? Will it be trade only, or are we looking at some form of Palia money? S6 Aiden answers, currently, gold is the primary fungible currency in Palia, but there are several other currencies you'll interact with for specialty stores, and I'm sure we'll introduce new ones in the future as it makes sense for the content being released. This next section is from April 8th, 2022. The next question is, people keep talking about this cool new admin in the Palia Discord. Who is she, and where did she come from? S6 Amelia Mars answers, Asherelle is the new community manager at Palia, joining me to support all of you as our membership grows. You learn a bit more about her from her intro over in the Meet the Sixers, but I can tell you that she is super funny, creative, and has her finger right on the pulse of the community. You'll be seeing a lot more of her as we ramp up our plans, kick off events, and bring Palia right to your door. If you see her on the server, be sure to give her a warm hello. Next question. At the most recent Ask the Team, you mentioned that Palia is a community sim MMO. Huzzah! And not an MMORPG. Which begs two questions. 1. How important will exploration be to filling out the game? Will we come across ruins or wizard towers, unique fairy circles in the forest, or a snug little cave by a lake? Perhaps unique crafting recipes in hidden, hard-to-reach locations? 2. Seeing as intense combat is not the main focus of the game, understandably, you mentioned that there will probably be hunting. Would this activity be more similar to Stardew Valley's mines of killing cutesy little monsters for rare materials, as opposed to being entirely focused on the XP grind you'd see in WoW? S6 Aiden answers, exploration will be an exciting part of your early days with Palia, and an experience we hope to continuously refresh as we add new zones to the game over time. So yes, you can expect to find lots of secrets, locked doors, and hard-to-reach locations in the game. However, I think it's important to temper expectations in this area since our world is not as large as a typical MMORPG or open-world game. As such, sometimes you'll have to wait for the next zone drop to get that exploration hit in the game again. In general, the game is very resource-focused in driving your core loop, but there is XP to be earned as well. Next question. How much of an accomplishment will be owning a home? Is it a series of quests, or just one? Is it at the very beginning, or later on? Also, are different home layouts a thing, or are homes customizable? S6 Eris answers this with, I think we can answer all of that with, we want your home to eventually be an extension of who you would like to be in Palia. Your first home should be an accomplishment for the work you put in at that point in the game, but it shouldn't be the last time you're feeling fulfilled with your home choices. We also want you to be fulfilled with the chase and the journey of pursuing homes you love. We'd like for you to obtain new house styles and furniture pieces that keep you creating and changing and evolving for thousands of hours, as long as we keep making items and features that excite you. Next question. Are there plans for a wishlist mechanic for the cash shop? Some ways for players with more money to spoil their poor friends, or maybe gift items to a random player to support the game? S6 Wizard Crab answers, we definitely want to give opportunities for gifting, but it's a question of when, not if. When we add gifting, there are a lot of extra things we need to set up to protect players and ourselves from fraud, and I don't yet know when we'll be able to do that. There's just so much to do to set expectations, it could be a while. As for wish lists, I can't promise one way or another about that particular mechanic, but we'll definitely put a lot of thought into how to make a great gifting experience. Next question. Hi, I have young children, and we would like to play a game in an online setting and so that Palia could be a calm enough setting that they would enjoy it. But I need to know, will there be any plans to add family-friendly filters? So, say I could lock my kids' accounts down so they cannot speak to others or others speak to them outside of preset lines. Some other games have done similar in the past, but either are now gone or are on their last legs. S6 Amelia Mars answers, we are currently rating Palia as 13+. not because of content we think wouldn't be appropriate for someone under 13 years old, but because of the themes we will be exploring in our story. A useful comparison would be the films of Hayao Miyazaki. We do have high standards for what we permit in our chat and are committed to making our players feel safe. Next question. Hey dev team, I've been intrigued by this game since pre-alpha, and I was wondering about the game art. I absolutely obsess over details like sparkly fairy lights, misty fog, flashy sunsets, and galaxy-filled night skies. Is there anything in store for aesthetic-loving gamers like me? And we have two answers here. S6 Eris says, how can I say yes in more words than one? Our art and our audio team really want players to be able to sit in any area of the map and feel grounded in the ambience surrounding the player. There are times when the player will get lost, good lost, just experiencing the little details that we like to put there just for the players to find. Building a believable world for players to fall in love with is a goal for us. And then S6 Jeremy Fensk answers, great question. I can say that the team and I are also super excited about pretty natural effects, and we have already created amazing effects in the world like fireflies, time of day lighting, sunsets and sunrises, mysterious spirits, and much more that I cannot wait to show. But this is only the beginning. The team still has a lot planned for adding more whimsy into the world. The night sky is something we have a lot of plans for. Constellations will give us hints and secrets about the lore of Palia. Excited to share more in the future. Next question. I understand that dating and romancing NPCs is a feature in this game. Will same-sex romances be in the game? S6 Ember's Ashes answers, players are able to romance any NPC they want, regardless of gender. Next question. How is S6 approaching the design of Palia, in general, to promote kind communities? There are two answers here from two different designers. S6 Wo Nonstop, the machine learning lead, answers, first, we believe that Palia's focus on cooperative instead of competitive play will help mitigate many behavioral issues common across popular games. Due to the zero-sum nature of most games, competition can bring out the worst in people. We are hopeful that our design for Palia will give us a slight advantage. However, we recognize that no matter how close we make Palia, we will eventually encounter players who make the game less than enjoyable for others. There is a general asymmetry around player behavior. In most games, the main focus is on reprimanding inappropriate actions, but we want to place as much energy into uplifting players for treating others with kindness. We believe that providing a way for players to celebrate each other for their admirable acts is another tool for developing healthy communities in Palia. And S6 Einer Hug Best Hug, the lead media systems designer, has said, to speak more from the design side of the problem, Wo Nonstop is absolutely correct in some of the ways in which our genre choice feeds into the idea of designing for coziness and kindness. We will, over time, also be adding design mechanics to the game intended to give players agency over the quality of experience they would like to have. As we recognize the tension between safety and the ease of making real and meaningful connections, there isn't an easy answer to achieving both. It is crucial that we recognize the positive and negative impact that each player can have on others, no matter the intentions. But there are so many types of people in the world that we cannot possibly think we will be able to cover all perspectives on our own brain power and experiences alone. So it's essential that we approach the space with an open mind and an open heart to listen to what our players tell us. Raising our own collective awareness does take time and energy, though, and so we'd like to invite all Palians to be part of building Palia's cozy community. This set of questions is from May 12th, 2022. The next question is, how much will you be able to customize your character without buying clothes and such for real-life currency? Will there be very few clothes you can use without buying them? Or will there still be some and just more if you buy them? S6 Wizard Crab answers, the first thing I want to emphasize is that many of the character customization options are actually not monetized at all. You'll have the full range of what we offer with things like skin color, face, body type, etc. You'll even be able to change these choices after the initial character screen creation without the need to spend real money, though there could be other requirements, like in-game currency or a cooldown period. We want you to always be able to represent yourself in the way you want to. As for clothing, our goal is for you to feel like you are getting a full game experience even without spending money. We're aiming to have a good number and variety of options for players who can't or choose not to spend, but selling outfits is also the way we'll financially support the game. So I do want to properly set expectations that we'll be constantly adding new, paid outfits. As we continue to support Palia for years to come, the paid outfit catalog will eventually outgrow the free one significantly. That's the reality expected with this type of model. However, I do truly believe that most players will be happy with the options we provide for both sides. Next question. So, I was thinking about how many alpha betas we will have before the launch, and if the team is hiding some kind of big content for the final build that they don't want to talk about in public for now. This second is more a yes or no thing if the team can't give hints or anything. I understand that the project is still new and you guys have a lot to do yet, but I saw some games extend the tests for too long and at the end they didn't have anything really new for the actual launch, so people lost interest kind of quickly since they played most of the content. I didn't get invited to any test yet, but after looking at the art and video you guys usually post, I got really excited to play this game in the future. S6 Aiden answers, we plan on releasing new content and features regularly throughout the testing phases and after launch. Some releases will obviously be larger than others, but we can expect to have something new on a monthly basis post-launch. So while we aren't really planning on some grand reveal, there will definitely be many exciting things in store with each playtest, launch, and beyond. Next question. What sort of in-game events are planned for the game? For example, will we have Christmas or a Christmas analog around wintertime? Or will it all be primarily user-driven events? S6 Scudderfoot answers, worry not. While we do want some user-driven events, we are definitely going to also have both seasonal and non-seasonal events. We will be drawing inspiration from holidays all across our own world, while also coming up with ones that are uniquely Palian. Winter holidays are, in my humble opinion, some of the coziest, so I'm personally very excited to bring that holiday coziness to Palia when the snow starts to fall. Next question. What kind of music will we be expecting in the game, such as In the Village, Wilderness Ruins, and would there be any way to get a sample? And, on the topic of music, will there be a way for players to create music and play instruments similar to what a few other games offer, such as Mabinogi and Final Fantasy XIV? There are two answers from S6 for this question. S6 Amelia Mars says, the music in Sounds of Palia is one of our playtesters' favorite experiences from the latest alpha, so I think you'll be very happy with what you hear. Our composer for Palia, Stefan Schmidt, is currently on a well-deserved vacation after completing all the recording sessions for Palia's music in Vienna. Your question couldn't have come at a better time. We can share a bit more when he returns, but we'll be providing a few updates during his sessions. Here are a few sneak peeks of the work Stefan was doing with all of the amazingly talented musicians. A harp recording, and the Palia's Kilima Village daytime theme. If you would like to click these links, visit the Palia Discord and find it in Team Answers. S6 has also chimed in by saying, regarding playable instruments in Palia, we're really excited about the possibility as we think it meshes well with the vibe and experience we're trying to create. While we're aware this is a frequent request from our community, we don't have anything to announce in this regard at the time. Next question. What are your current plans on the topic of hindering actions that will harm the in-game economy? My biggest example is the newly released MMO Lost Ark, and their huge problem with bots trying to sell in-game currency with real money, leading to the inflation of prices of common goods. It is a problem that haunts every game in this genre, and just as hard to solve. And from what I have understood about Palia is that the game is strongly driven by its economy, which means that an attack like this can be devastating. S6 Aiden answers, this is certainly something we've been thinking about from the very early stages of Palia's development. One decision we've made in this regard is to have some restrictions and limitations on the transfer of goods between players. This choice is absolutely a trade-off that adds some inconvenience, but does so in hopes of making the in-game economy continuously work for a broader group of players while mitigating the impact of botters. Next question. Hello! Will fishing, like other professions, be influenced by seasons, events? Are some kinds of fish only fishable in certain places? Or with very specific hooks to find? Thank you for your reply. Smile. This question has two answers. The first answer is from S6 Bourbon, who says, in Palia, a number of things can influence the fish you find. Of course, the location where you are fishing matters, but the type of bait you use, the weather, and the time of day can also influence what fish are available. And S6 Astral adds, and, as a bonus, here's some concept art of fish you can find in Palia. Next question. In what way will you acquire new furnishings? Will there be multiple ways to earn them? For example, daily quests, story-based rewards, in-game shops? Also, by extension, will you craft these furnishings yourself with gathered materials? S6 Bourbon answers, there will be plenty of ways you can acquire furniture in Palia, and there will be lots of furniture, period. For launch, you'll acquire many of them through the furniture making skill. The more you craft, the more experience you earn, which then unlocks more learnable recipes. As an alternative, these pieces can also be purchased as they appear in the furniture store on a rotation. Beyond that, we're also making a number of pieces and sets available in unique ways apart from crafting. For example, unlocking an item when you complete a certain quest line. This will unravel as you explore more of the world of Palia and can be acquired as complete items rather than from crafting off recipes. Next question. Other MMOs have things like raids and dungeons to pull people together to work toward a common goal. What kinds of common goals are in Palia that would bring people together? Will there also be some form of grouping like guilds or clans in other games? S6 Einerhug Best Hug answers, we are definitely going to have social structures like guilds or clans. In tune with the rest of our game, we want to focus the atmosphere of our guild structures on being close-knit and cozy, collaborative rather than competitive. In March, we spoke to a group of goals a little bit, and we are continuing to explore options that we think will make the best experience for players. The high-level goal is still for players to be able to feel like they are contributing to something greater than themselves, but at their own pace and comfort to begin with. Next question. What is something you've learned from recently failed games that you will try to avoid in Palia? S6 Aiden answers, we're always looking to our peers for inspiration and cheering them on as gamers ourselves. MMOs are hard. Launching a new MMO is hard. There are so many things that have to go right in order for us to even have the chance to meet player expectations. That's why we're using our pre-launch test phases to directly inform when we're ready to take the big leap. Here are some things we've picked up over the years that we're always keeping in mind. 1. The importance of bringing something unique to the table with our game. 2. What contributes to a strong and stable game economy. 3. How are we going to support the game post-launch with regular, meaningful content updates? 4. What is necessary to have a reliable back-end infrastructure to keep the whole thing running smoothly behind the scenes? We'll be paying a lot of attention to these areas and more as we approach launch and beyond. Okay, this batch of questions is from June 16, 2022. Next question. From social interaction in the game, are there any plans to add some character poses, attitudes, facial expressions, etc. to enhance the social experience for players? And with a way to quickly use it to have a dynamic way of expressing ourselves. S6 Einerhug Best Hug answers, yes, we've got an emote wheel in the works. The intention is to give players the ability to use another means of communication aside from needing to pull up the chat window. Right now, there's a fixed set of emotes you can use, but we plan on expanding this so you can customize the wheel in the future. And even with the wheel, the center option can be immediately used when bound to a hotkey for fast access. Facial expressions are currently tied to these emotes, but there's lots of room for us to explore moving forward. Next question. Would it be possible to implement a photo mode? Also, could there be something along the lines of an album or encyclopedia to record which bugs or fish we've caught? There are two answers to this one. First, S6 Einenhug Best Hug answers, we will have a photography mode. It's pretty basic right now, but it definitely gets rid of all the pesky UI so you can take some beautiful landscape photos or some cheeky selfies. And while we do have a guidebook in the game right now that tracks collection progress, it's in a pretty early stage. We're hard at work in fleshing it out and making sure it'll be a great resource for players to use. Also, S6 Ash says, in fact, here are some incredible screenshots our alpha testers took using the mode. Next question. What motivated you to make Palia? Was it a lack of similar MMOs? S6 Aiden answers, Palia has definitely been a labor of love. I've always been a big fan of community sim games, going back to Harvest Moon on the SNES. Bringing that kind of game into an immersive fantasy world at the massively multiplayer scale really spoke to me as a player. Additionally, I've personally been impacted by the amazing online communities I've gotten to be a part of through the various MMOs I've played deeply over the years. Building a game that can foster that kind of community experience around a different kind of core game experience was really the spark leading to the overall company vision. Next question. Bag space. What is S6's mindset when it comes to bag space and inventory management? I inevitably run around with full bags, regardless of which game I'm playing, to the point where I often do a quest or pick something up and get an error that I can't collect it. S6 Aiden answers, this is definitely a thoughtful question. When it comes to inventory and bag space, we knew that there needed to be some limitations in place. We've seen cases where unlimited inventory can actually influence one's playstyle in a direction we didn't want to go, and made the decision to have it be a fixed amount. While you start off with a row available, you can unlock more bag space with expansions, and we believe that the final amount is at a good spot at the moment. That being said, we also wanted to provide some conveniences. In Palia, your storage space is actually shared and accessible across all chests, and you're able to craft directly from storage without needing to take items out into your bag space. Next question. Good afternoon. How many professions, such as mining and manufacturing, will be available in the game? This question has two answers. The first answer is from S6 Aiden. Our current expectation is that there will be 8 skills available at launch. While that number will inevitably expand post-launch, right now we're mostly focused on making sure our initial skills are really hitting the mark. Our playtests thus far have been really helpful in validating and iterating on each of them. And S6 Ash adds, the 8 skills are as follows: foraging, bug catching, mining, fishing, cooking, furniture making, gardening, and hunting. You can check them out on the recently revamped website at palia.com. Which skill are you most excited about? Let me know in the Palia chat. Next question. Will there be different tiers of housing, say large, medium, and small? And will there be any limitations on how much furniture you can add? This question has two answers. The first answer is from S6 Gutterfoot. Housing is a massively important feature in Palia, and we want to bring loads of customization options throughout development. You'll be able to build small rooms to large rooms, if you have the right blueprints and materials, of course. With different housing styles, you can completely change the look and feel of your house as well. We do have a limit in place for furniture in your housing plot, but fear not, it's a very high number. And S6 Ash adds, and as a testament to that, here's a screenshot. Look at all those placeable bottles. Next question. I read about the hunting and fishing features. Will it be possible to play Palia in a non-violent way, or do you have to hunt to progress in the game? S6 Aiden answers, one of our core values for Palia is allowing the player to play the way they want to play. And yes, this particular desire has been expressed by quite a few in the community and on the development team. Our economy is already set up in a way where you can acquire the items themselves without needing to directly engage in the skill or activity. But to take things a step further, we're also looking into adding in item variants so you can use options not sourced from creatures. Next question. What are the plans for bug catching? Will there be anything like collections or terrariums to display them in? S6 Bourbon answers, this is a good question. Broadly speaking, we want all of the gathering skills in Palia to be useful for more than just earning gold. For bug catching, we really like the expressive potential of displaying your bug collection in something like a terrarium, and are actively exploring ideas there alongside other possibilities. Next question. Who among the Sixer team has a beach vacation planned? Due to the variety of responses, I am not going to read them all, and I will leave them on the screen for a few moments. This next set of questions comes from July 25th, 2022. The next question is, as far as housing goes, what level of cooperation and teamwork will be possible between players? Can 2 people share a house and have full access to decoration? More than 2 people? Will there be a communal housing for, say, guilds? S6 Eris answers, first off, thanks so much for the question. At the moment, you can be a good neighbor and help water your friends' crops just in case they missed it, and you can cook together in an attempt to make that perfect high-quality dish and hopefully not ruin it. But for any additional cooperation, that's something we definitely want players to have a level of access to, this being a game about community and building a society together. But we're not ready to have that feature tested with the community just yet. Fingers crossed. Next question. With the concept of neighborhoods being very similar to most MMOs' version of guilds, what can you tell us that makes your neighborhood special? Will we be working toward anything as a group? Will we be able to decorate together, or will there be benefits to doing things in game together? What is the purpose of having one? S6 Einer Hug Best Hug answers, neighborhoods are different from guilds because they are intended to have a wider variety of shared activities. They're also expected to be generally smaller than what people expect from MMO guilds, so we can emulate the cozy feel of a tight-knit group. So before I proceed, let me explain the difference between synchronous and asynchronous activities. The former are actual events that you're expected to be present and do together, such as chopping trees or mining ores. The latter are activities where the group goal is still mutual, but anyone can contribute at their own convenience, such as a check-in event with completion milestones. Neighborhoods will be where most asynchronous cooperative activities take place and in the future, and we have lots of ideas and plans of what direction we want to go in, though it might be a bit early to say in detail for now. Ultimately, the goal is to have neighborhoods be a way to represent yourself, your group, and the progress you've made together in Palia. Next question. There is a point about resources being shared between all chests. This is great, but as someone who loves getting their things tidy even when it comes to an inventory in a game, will it be possible to sort items by type, search for specific ones in the chests, or bags for that matter? And the final part, will it be possible to manually sort items in chests using custom folders? The reasoning behind that is that normal filters or tags have to be relatively unspecific, in my opinion, if you don't want to attack the player with a list of 300 item tags, where letting anyone sort their stuff just as they want would mean that anyone could have their tags just be as accurate as they want. S6 Busco Bear answers, searching and sorting through your inventory is a really important part of any gathering crafting system. The experience for our next alpha playtest will likely be unchanged, but we have made some exciting steps under the hood that will unlock the full potential of inventory very soon. When work on our inventory and storage system is complete, you'll be able to sort by a ton of different gameplay tags, search for the exact item you need, and workstations will remember what you're working on, saving your filters how you want them. Next question. Will the villagers be fully voice animated in the future? Will our characters be voiced or not? S6 Notar answers, as of writing, each villager has anywhere between 40 to 60 voice lines, depending if they are romanceable. These lines are played during the intros and outros of your dialogue with the characters. They'll change as you level up your relationship with the character, and we have different tiers of voice lines for both friendship and romance tracks. Additionally, there are some sound effects tied to character animations, such as sighing or being surprised. If our voice lines are well received, we could even expand them to factor in more context, such as weather, time of day, etc. There's a lot we can do. As for player characters, the plan is to have a total of 10 voice options you can choose from, and they'll be based off timbre. Next question. I saw that there are 8 professions/skills. Will we be able to learn each of these, or will it be limited to 1 or 2? S6 Bourbon answers, yes, you'll be able to learn all of the 8 skills from the get-go. There will be quests to introduce you to each one, but it'll be up to you to decide which skills to focus on. Whether it's becoming a professional pie baker or discovering all the insects of Palia, we want to support a fun experience no matter which skill or how many you take on. S6 Astral also adds, let me know which skills you'd be interested in the most in the chat. Maybe we should start a poll. Next question. Will there be a chromatic changes or options to change the colors of clothing or armor or equipment? If so, will it be RGB choices or extremely limited by a set of colors? S6 Einer Hug Best Hug answers, our current system has you choosing pre-existing color palettes. We call them variants. So for each outfit piece, you'll have a number of options to choose from right at the get-go. This will likely be the system we have in place for the game's launch, though a lot of consideration is being done to make sure we're catering to the kind of themes, colors, and patterns our community wants to see. Astral adds, as an example, here are some of the different variants we have for our previously revealed Choppa onesie outfit. Next question. According to previous posts, humans are returning to the world for the first time in centuries. So that begs the question, what year is it? Does the time of our return have any bearing on the plot? S6 Vega answers, what you know when entering Palia for the first time is that some pretty major events happened a good 1,000 years plus in the history of the world, and that is the last time anyone saw hide or hair of a human. Part of the story will be delving into those secrets and finding out what happened in the past to cause humanity's disappearance, in order to understand current events and find solutions for the future. You'll see ruins dotted about the landscape with lore attached for you to discover, and meet characters that may offer better insight into humanity's history. As for the future, and the timing of your return, well, that is its own mystery you'll have to unravel. It certainly seems like things are happening for a reason, but what that reason might be remains to be seen. Next question. The Archive Team to Answers channel mentions intro quests to get basic tools and learn the game. And through this channel, we know that villagers will have friendship building quest chains, and some of them will continue on with romance building quest chains. The world as a whole will have a narrative, which I assume will include a set of quest chains to tell the story of Palia and the human disappearance and reappearance. We know there are many bars to fill doing activities and are using skills. Do these activities and or skills get a set of quests that people can do? If so, will they be random and varied enough to feel less repeatable and grindy and more of a part of the story or a part of the NPC storylines if the NPCs in question are linked to that activity or skill? S6 Vega answers, one of the goals of the quest system is to introduce concepts to players within the context of the story and lore as a whole. Instead of just having a pop-up explaining how to fish, you also get to talk to Einar and learn from him what he thinks about fishing in Palia. We have introduction quests for each skill that are designed to explain their meaning and interactions with each of the NPCs who leads that skill planned for the future. Right now we have Einar as your fishing friend, Alni as your bug buddy, Hussein as your hunting handler, Tish as your furniture making friend, Reth as your cooking companion, Hodari as your mining mentor, Badru as your gardening guru, and Ashura as your foraging friend. Phew, that's roll call. And yes, I did use friend 3 times. My thesaurus failed me. Anyway, as of right now, a vast majority of quests actually aren't repeatable. Narrative quests are handcrafted and unique, and any repeatable content should have enough variety and fun to them so it doesn't end up too much as a mindless grind or chore to do. When it comes to skills, the goal is that for players who are interested in quests and NPC interaction, there will be content available for you to engage with. But that it won't be a requirement to be besties with Badru if you just want to garden on your own, though he certainly wants to be your friend. As for other quests already in the game, including friendship and romance, using your skills is often a major way for you to progress certain goals and storylines. We like to offer multiple different ways for certain quests to be completed depending on how you like to play the game. Whether it's charming your way to success or befriending someone with a cake you just baked, we want to be able to integrate other game mechanics to enrich your quest experience and interaction with the NPCs. Next question. What are the main principles Singularity 6 looks for in someone that aspires to join them? Relating to this, what is Singularity 6's policy regarding hiring people with no experience in the video game industry? S6 Astral answers, it's great that you ask because we've recently updated our company website. Our About page really highlights the characteristics and values we're looking for and the kind of people we want to hire. While it's not necessarily to have worked in the industry to apply, being able to pivot existing experience to match what the position is looking for will go a long way. Here at S6, we're looking to find the best candidates to help us make Palia the best game it can be. About page and the current job openings page. This set of questions is from September 8th, 2022. Next question is, I know Palia is structured as a social sim first, but any game needs progression for players to feel engaged with a game. When it comes to player progression, how does Palia intend to keep players playing and keep coming back? Will base progression systems be expanded as the game grows? Or are they built from the ground up to be endless, like Black Desert or RuneScape, which are super grindy and with limitless level caps? What evergreen content is in place to make sure that there are meaningful ways to progress even for players who have played a very long time? This question has a few answers. First, S6 Aiden says, this is definitely a valid question that calls on us to evaluate what our long-term plans are for Palia. Many of our game's features, including skills, have been designed to be expanded over the game's lifespan through patches and content updates well beyond launch. Whether you're a new player just starting out, or a long timer with many hours, we want our patches to provide a wide variety of content that appeals to a number of different playstyles and preferences. This can include, for example, a new furniture set that has the missing piece you need to finish out your tavern-themed game room, or a series of quests that finally gives you a satisfying conclusion to your favorite villager's coming-of-age arc. Larger updates will contain exciting things like entirely new maps to explore, or even new skills added for you to dive into. To expand more on some of our plans for Palia, we brought in Sixers Eris and Bourbon to comment on home decor and skills. For home decoration, S6 Eris says, think of your home as your base. No matter what adventure you set off on as you explore the world, you'll always have a space to welcome you back. We really wanted to capture the pride that comes from slowly building out a space that you can call your own. Thus, the ability to decorate and customize your home will be core to your experience in Palia. We hope to provide lots of indoor furniture options, outdoor decor pieces, and many other ways for you to find what fits in the home of your dreams. And for skills, S6 Bourbon says, skills are a core part of Palia's gameplay loop. We made the decision for skills to have, as you mentioned, limitless level caps, with the intention of expanding each track out over time. As you progress in a skill, you gain medals that you can use to claim rare materials, or exchange them for unlockables that are meant to be an indication of your effort. For example, if you have a koi pond in your garden, it's a sign you've invested your effort into the foraging skill. You can also choose to exchange your medals for other rewards, recipes, and exclusive items. This way, we're rewarding players for their time in progressing these skills, but providing different reward systems for their type of play. S6 Aiden concludes, in the future, we're aiming to develop more community activities such as shared communal spaces, social gathering events, and sandbox-type gameplay. We're still in the early stages of design for these, but we believe this is one of the most fun ways to get players to keep coming back. I've been skipping the alpha beta release dates ones, but I think this one gives enough of an answer that I want to read this. The next question is there a roadmap for what the timeline is looking for alpha beta release dates? As in, is there a release date yet? S6ZA says, we are aware this has been a frequent question and something that's on the minds of many. To give a short answer, no, we don't have a release date yet, but allow us to share a bit more on why. Here's the long answer. Rather than having a set schedule with fixed dates or even quarterly milestones, we're taking a different approach here at S6, at least for the stage of where Palia is at right now. The alpha tests help us gauge where we are, so we can make better decisions after each test to see how we move forward. Without a promised deadline, it allows us to make the best game we can. Of course, it's only fair we still provide some updates for our community, so this is what you can expect. Most of our community updates have been heavily on Discord, which is sometimes not the best way to share information. We know not everyone uses or likes to use Discord. We plan to show more about Palia on our official website blog, making it easier to read and share for the wider community. This includes updates on what we're working on, such as before and afters, concept art, and other highlights on the game's progress. Stay tuned. We're also still evaluating how our next test will be run. As of writing, we've just wrapped up our second alpha test, and are still sorting lots of crucial feedback and data received from that. This will help us evaluate what the next step will be. And sometimes it might mean, yeah, let's get ready for the next test. Or, oh, we should really take our time and hunker down. I'm sure you can understand how there's lots to factor when it comes to making a game like Palia, which is why we're hesitant to really give a concrete date even for when or how our next test will be. That being said, there will eventually be a time when Palia will no longer be under NDA, and it'll likely be prior to launch. We know you're eager to see more of the game, and can't wait for the day when floodgates open and all sorts of comments, screenshots, and videos come out. That's still on the horizon, and you'll definitely know when it happens. Finally, we want to confirm that we are not releasing Palia this year. We are still heavy in development, and will update more as we progress further. While it's still not the exact answer we know people are looking for, this gives a better perspective of where we're at. And as always, to everyone still eagerly looking forward to Palia and waiting for as long as it takes, thank you. Next question. Will there be customization beyond the house? Garden, backyard, etc. S6 Scudderfoot answers, yes, we have lots in store planned for outdoor housing customization for Palia. You'll be able to have fencing and walkways with all sorts of customization options available, including different styles and sizes to choose from. Another thing I am personally looking forward to is adding in flowers and other types of decorative plants. Right now, we have gardening, and these are all harvestable crops. I know people want some flowers and other flora to freshen up their home plots, and we're working on that. We've got lots of fun things in store. Next question. It may have been asked before because romancing characters is certainly one of the juicy features in a decent simulation game like my time at Sandrock and The Sims and so on. But I still have to ask given Palia's MMO situation. In a multiplayer setting, if several players want to romance the same NPC in a village, how is it determined who will succeed in being a boyfriend or girlfriend to the NPC? Would it be like a competition between players? Or all players get the chance to be the significant other to the same NPC? This could be somewhat weird to some people. P.S. I totally understand there are other types of relationships like best friends, etc. If this was answered before, a link or hint would be much appreciated. Thanks! S6 Vega answers, this is a great question, and one we've thought about quite a bit. While most of the story and activities in Palia are meant to be experienced cooperatively, when it comes to romance we think consent and comfort is key. For this reason, players will not be competing with each other to date certain characters, and those NPCs will never mention dating another player to you. As all romance questlines are single player, we simply treat you like you are the sole protagonist of those questlines and conversations. This is the same for friendship questlines as well, so that you can experience those stories at your own pace and develop your relationship with these NPCs naturally. As for different types of relationships, we are very interested in exploring more of those in the future. Next question. Can we get some small footage or videos for those unlucky ones who could not access the alpha? S6 Ash answers, we wanted to go the extra mile to answer this, so here's a very special video we've made for fans like you.
You can never go wrong with soup. Oh. What?
And if you want to see the full version of that, well, the bigger version of that, go to the Discord and the Team Answers channel and find this post. Next question. Not sure if it's been asked, but is there any plan to add aquariums and terrariums to show off all the fish and critters we can catch? S6 Eris answered, Psst, a version of this is already in the game. S6 Ash adds, here's a sneak peek using screenshots. Please note screenshots taken from current tests are works in progress and may appear different at launch. Next question. Is the language you show in some of the artwork a constructed language, a script for English, or just scribbles? S6 Jeremy answers, that language is an English alphabet cipher. All of the signage is directly translated to the English language and intentionally written, and I'm sure now the cat is out of the bag, it'll be cracked in no time. The style of writing was designed by one of our concept artists and blends perfectly with the Majiri aesthetic. We also have an ancient script, though more on that will be revealed later. S6 Ash also added, as a little tease, here are some signs from the official art channel we've already shared in the past. Next question. Can you reveal any symbol, sigil, crest of arms for a royal family, logo, or anything in those lines from the world of Palia? S6 Jeremy answers, I don't have anything to reveal right now, but the visuals of family crests and iconography does play a role in Palia. For the more careful observers, you might be able to see family crests on some of the villagers' clothes. Runes and symbols are an important part of ancient culture. You may find runes and icons that foreshadow events or tell a story about that world. I'm excited to see the community uncover these mysteries as we slowly build out the world. Next question. Could you tell us a bit more about the villagers? Like, what can you find each of them doing on a daily basis? What are some of their special quirks? And do they have different outfits, different house styles, etc.? S6 Vega says, we have a vast cast of characters for you to meet and befriend in Palia. From our resident bad boy Chef Reth, to the mysterious pebble-loving Einar, to the eccentric and always curious Eloisa, there are plenty of stories for you to experience. Each NPC has their own unique set of quest lines. For example, you might want to figure out what the deal is with that mysterious alchemist hiding out in Bahari Bay and find yourself tangled up in her web, or befriend the tailor Gel and help him discover new inspiration for his next clothing line. Some quest lines are personal, while others might help you understand more of the world and lore around you. Do you want to help Gina form her new thesis for the Academy, or help Kenyatta find her true calling in life, which the Majiri call the path? Why not both? Even the ever-judgmental magistrate Eshe can be befriended with enough time and effort, and appropriate deference. Some NPCs are even romanceable, with romance-focused content and questlines available, which is optional of course, as we have answered in the past Ask the Team response. Each NPC also has a schedule, from work to home to hobbies in between, that you can learn. You might spot our archaeologist examining ancient ruins, or the innkeeper out fishing during his lunch break, or any other number of things. Everyone also has a personal space decorated for them that you can visit. We can't wait for you to meet them all and unravel just a little more of their story every time you interact. Next question. Are there certain non-traditional MMO UI or mechanic choices you'd like to share? S6 Aiden answers, one example of how Palia is not a traditional MMO is how fleshed out all our NPCs will be. When you meet Ashura, he's not just another tutorial NPC. He's the owner of the Ormuz Horn Inn, who has a full background and things he likes and dislikes. all available for you to learn as you get to know Ashura more. This extends to many of the characters you'll meet in the world of Palia, and since we're also a blend of the community sim genre, some of those villagers will also be romanceable. They also have schedules, meaning they have places to be, and will move between destinations throughout the day. Another distinction Palia has is that our world is designed to be an adventurous experience. You can look around with a third-person camera, climb your way up hills, jump off cliffs to glide off into the distance, and more. While Palia might not have as many maps as one would expect in an MMO at launch, we are putting effort into making sure they are all full of charming details and content for you to discover. Finally, the subject of skills has been mentioned before, but I'd like to think that Palia's skills are different from what people expect coming from MMOs. In Palia, our skills are mining and cooking instead of firebolt or critical shot. They are also all unlocked from the start of the game. Each skill has its own experience level, and there are rewards and milestones associated with each one as you progress. While there are many more cases, I think I'll stop myself from getting too far ahead. I hope that answers your question. This batch of questions is from October 17th, 2022. The next question is, question, I have a disgustingly intense passion for food. Can you go a little more in depth on how the cooking system will work in game? Will we be able to experiment in order to discover dishes a la Guild Wars 2? Will there be ingredients we can forage around high and low to find? I'm so excited about food, I'm sorry. As Six Bourbon answers, in designing the cooking skill, we wanted it to be very interactive. As a first step, you need to first unlock the recipe. Some are given from the start, and some are learned as you progress in the skill more, or discover them out in the world. Then, whether it's found through foraging or grown with gardening, you'll need to gather all the ingredients needed. The actual cooking itself involves a variety of mini-games depending on what you're cooking, and it can even be done with friends. The hectic but fun experience of trying to create an awesome meal together is something we wanted to capture. S6 Ash adds, as a reward for your efforts, using high-quality ingredients and cooking the recipe perfectly will even allow you to place the dishes as decor in your home. Show off your mad chef skills to everyone who visits. Next question. As far as hunting, fishing, bug catching goes, will we receive crafting ingredients or trophies that we can display in our houses? And are there going to be enough creatures, fish, bugs with varying levels of rarity to keep those activities interesting for a long time? S6 Bourbon answers, yes, we want players to be rewarded and have a way to showcase their progression. This includes having unlockables such as decor pieces tied to skills. In addition to the various creatures and critters we'll have for launch, there are definitely plans to add more over time. Next question. If we complete an NPC's questline that we end up loving, will future updates expand or include them again? I ask this because in other games, when I finish the story of an NPC, they just disappear off the map or I never see that NPC again, and I feel pretty sad about that. S6 Ember Ashes answers, don't worry, the villagers of Palia will continue to appear throughout the world, even beyond quests. You'll still be able to converse with them, interact with them, and even visit their homes. While there will be a set amount of quests at launch, we do plan to add additional friendship and romance content to the existing villagers, as well as more quests in general that are sure to involve your favorite ones. Next question. Could you tell us more about the effort put into crafting the Majiri language? Was it part of world building from the start? S6 Jeremy answers, I thought it was important that the Majiri have their own culture and that it's not directly referencing an existing culture. It should feel unique and pair with the Majiri culture in a nice and aesthetic way. I knew we needed the player to see posters and signs in the world, but I wanted to avoid using English as a language. So I asked Yang Tian Li, our lead concept artist, to take a shot at creating a written language that is a cipher for the English alphabet. The written characters needed to match the existing cultural patterns seen in the world and looks as though it derived from a pictorial language. The result you came up with has become our Majiri language in Palia. S6 Ash added, we've shared some concept work from Yang Tian on Twitter and Discord before, and you can check out her Twitter here. Link is in the channel. Next question. For those of us who are interior design challenged, will there be starter templates that we'll be able to build our houses from? If I have to start from scratch, I'm afraid I'll end up with something that looks like a before picture from a place in Reddit. S6 Eris answers, okay, first of all, I feel so seen by this question because this is definitely me when playing other games. One of my favorite parts of our housing system is how we go about giving players the tools to interact and set up a nice and attractive place of their own. When you start building out your home, it begins as an empty space just waiting to be filled. As you progress in your furniture making skill, you'll unlock recipes for more decor pieces to choose from. They are categorized in theme sets, so it's entirely possible to have your whole home be a log cabin set, for example. Or you can mix and match from a number of themes as you unlock more options. While the rooms won't come with templates, we'll have different room sizes and add-ons that will allow players to build some pretty nice looking homes. Perhaps you can find inspiration from visiting a villager's home, or that of your friends and others in game as well. We really want to encourage players to share their creations and have others be inspired by that. S6 Aiden says, to add to this, we wanted the housing customization in Palia to be accessible and easy for anyone wanting to decorate their home, and have it look good. But there are also some advanced options for those wanting a bit more control and expression. We think the system we have in place is a good balance that will appeal to many players, and can't wait for more people to check it out. Ash jumps in and adds, if you want to see screenshots of rooms and other adventures from our testers, check out our blogs recently recapping Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, and she has links for them. You can go to the Discord channel and check out the links, or you can just go to palia.com. It's under the news section. This next batch of questions is for December 2nd, 2022. Next question. I know dating and marrying NPCs is a thing, but will you be able to marry another player? I'd love to play this game with my partner and share that aspect with them in the in-game world as well. S6 Vega says, not currently, but this is something we're looking into ways to support in the future. Of course, you're always free to use Kilima Village as a venue for your nuptials or reception even before we get systems in to support this. S6 Amelia Mars says, might we suggest the gazebo near the village center? Next question. What does marrying an NPC mean, gameplay-wise? Are there any benefits or special things you can do when you are married that you could otherwise not? S6 Vega says, you can't currently marry an NPC. You can, however, romance and date NPCs. Once you reach a certain level with the NPC you're romancing, you'll have the chance to exchange pins with them, sort of like going steady. Wearing these pins will give you bonus increases to relationship points you earn with those specific NPCs whose pins you're wearing, and other NPCs will comment on your equipped pin. Also, the further you develop your relationship with NPCs, the more story content you unlock. Next question. Looking at the big handful, of NPCs currently announced, it seems a very small number, even for a village. 3 questions. Will there be other named NPCs added that we can friend, and for those wanting the possibility of romance? 2. Will there be unnamed NPCs added to help make the world feel more alive? 3. Will there be more added down the line as the story progresses? S6 Vega answers, this is a great opportunity to talk about how we think about creating NPCs. While we do have a list of post-launch NPCs we're planning on, we always want to make sure that the NPCs present in Palia feel rich and meaningful, overabundant, and nondescript. Taking the time to make sure they have deep backstories and connections with other NPCs is very important to us. This includes building both new romance options as well as a lot of new friendship options in the narrative as well. With that in mind, our list of potential NPCs is growing all the time. There's also an opportunity to leave the door open for more NPCs based on where the community spends their time. Player feedback can influence the kinds of NPCs we add in the future. And as for unnamed NPCs wandering around, with some rare exceptions, every NPC you meet in Kilma will be named and will have full friendship quest lines and content associated with them. When we branch out into bigger and more populated maps, we may introduce generic NPCs to help flesh out busier areas. Next question. Some of my greatest experiences in any MMO have been the random encounters with complete strangers. Sometimes it's good to have a zone or area chat, but sometimes I just want to talk to the people directly in front of me. What kind of chat will be supported? Will there be proximity chat, text-based and or voice-based proximity chat? S6 Einer Hugs Best Hugs answers, we are excited about all different kinds of voice chat features, but we are taking our time with adding them to Palia. When it comes to voice chat, there's a lot to think through around what is the right approach for player safety and comfort. For now, we are focusing on making our text-based chat experience as smooth and safe for players as possible. With text-based chat, we are actively working toward a local chat feature, and as of right now, we do have chat available for zones, communities, formerly known as neighborhoods, and parties, smaller temporary groups. One detail to note is that our zones are not intended for events like big raids, so chat will still have a cozy feel to it. Next question. There's a lot of stuff you all are showing us about the game and the alpha test, which is super exciting. What things did players not enjoy in the playtest, and how are their concerns being heard and addressed? S6 Aiden answers, we're very happy to hear you're enjoying the sneak peek so far. A big part of the alpha phase of development is absolutely getting feedback from real players. It is immensely helpful in making sure we are on the right track, validating assumptions, and sometimes exposing unexpected feedback that helps us course correct and iterate effectively. We also utilize a variety of approaches to collect feedback from these tests, including player sentiment, user research, and collecting data, evaluating each carefully before deciding whether we'll make any new moves. Some areas that these tests have caused the dev team to rally around improving include providing more community-oriented goals, additional content, notably quests, better supporting role-playing with features like furniture interactivity, a lot of user interface enhancements, accessibility features. The team is particularly excited about some of the new quest content that has been added to the game recently, which dives deeper into the lore and mystery that abounds in Palia. We also talk a lot about how best to take advantage of the fact that Palia is a massively multiplayer game, which is resulting in a variety of new ways to collaborate, interact, and play together. We also want to make sure everyone can play in a way that is comfortable for them, and we'll be pursuing more accessibility features like key bindings and controller support, which were sorely missed by many players in our tests so far. Last question. Can players share a house together? S6 Eris answers, ooh, fancy question. This is one of our most frequently asked Ask the Team questions, and we've given some shorter answers in the past. We've talked before about how we can really enjoy features like shared housing as gamers ourselves, and how we currently support features like watering each other's gardens and cooking together in each other's kitchens. We have been working quite a bit on this area of the game, and though we've made some good progress that we're excited about internally, we're unfortunately still not able to talk about it further yet, but plan to share more with you in greater detail in the future. Okay, and that was all of the Ask the Team and team answers from 2021 and 2022. In 2023, I hope to go ahead and do this on a monthly basis as the Ask the Team answers come out. So look forward to that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!